Today I want to discuss the importance of breaking free from control. Often we find ourselves caught up in activities driven by guilt and external pressures. A family member may become upset if we fail to meet their expectations consistently. Similarly, a friend may impose numerous demands, risking hurt feelings if we don't comply. Manipulation and control tactics are commonly employed to sway situations in one's favor. However, it's crucial to understand that this behavior doesn't necessarily denote ill intent. In many cases, individuals may not even realize they're exerting control. They simply expect unwavering support and sacrifice, leading us to feel obligated to fulfill their needs at the expense of our own well-being. Yet it's essential to recognize that we aren't accountable for others' happiness. Our responsibility lies in nurturing our own joy. It's liberating to release the burden of constantly catering to the desires of others, especially when some individuals prefer dependency over addressing their own issues. By consistently yielding to their demands, we not only jeopardize our aspirations, but also perpetuate their dysfunctional behavior. Establishing clear boundaries becomes imperative. While maintaining kindness and affection, we must assertively decline unreasonable demands and refuse to shoulder burdens that aren't ours to bear. It's essential to acknowledge that our worth isn't contingent on meeting every expectation or conforming to arbitrary standards set by others. Without healthy boundaries, relationships deteriorate. And what if someone reacts negatively to our boundaries? Consider it a divine intervention, a sign to express gratitude for newfound freedom. Life is too precious to be spent under the sway of manipulation and guilt. True friendships aren't built on compliance. They thrive on mutual respect and understanding. A genuine friend respects our decisions and doesn't resort to coercion or guilt-tripping to manipulate us. Reflecting on my own journey, I recall a time when I was asked to speak at various events shortly after my father's passing, despite being inexperienced in ministry. Speaking on weekends was consuming all my time and energy, especially with a 3-month-old baby in tow. I explained that while I felt honored, I couldn't commit at that moment. Everyone else understood, except for one gentleman. He recounted his support for my father, his consistent attendance at our conferences, and his unwavering loyalty. He seemed to believe I could make an exception. The pressure mounted, fueled by his guilt. Initially, I felt a pang of remorse, but quickly realized he wasn't a friend. He was a manipulator. His concern wasn't for me, but for what I could do for him. I matched his strength with my resolve. If you're being manipulated, it's not the other person's fault. It's yours. You must assert yourself and say, "I'm sorry, but I won't dance to your tune every time you call. I can't fulfill all your demands." He reacted poorly, unable to grasp the situation. Rather than letting their dissatisfaction burden you, why not let them deal with it? If they can't cope, that's their issue, not yours. Don't shoulder the false responsibility of pleasing everyone, rescuing them, or keeping them motivated. You're not their rescuer. We already have one. Continuously giving in will only exhaust you. Ease the burden. Be polite but firm. Learn to decline. No, I can't do that. Stop allowing people to disrupt your peace day and night, expecting you to solve all their problems. You have enough on your plate. That's why voicemail was invented. If they can't reach you, perhaps they'll turn to a higher power or confront their own issues. Continuously being at their beck and call creates dependency. It's not just limiting your potential, but hindering their growth into who they're meant to be. Do them a favor and break free from that control. I once spoke with a woman raised in a toxic environment. Since childhood, her mother blamed her for everything, instilling guilt and shame. She felt responsible for her mother's happiness and fixing her problems. Her mother's behavior was harsh and abusive, stemming from unresolved issues. When people are in pain, consumed by bitterness, anger, and insecurity, they often lash out, projecting their suffering onto others. It's not your fault. It's their unresolved turmoil. It's like a volcano of pent-up agony ready to erupt. They've been suppressing it for too long, not dealing with it head-on. The mother constantly bombarded her daughter with negativity, telling her she wouldn't amount to anything, criticizing her appearance, and blaming her for their troubles. She wielded guilt, shame, and fear like weapons to manipulate her daughter. Fast forward to today, the daughter, now in her 40s, is still under her mother's thumb. The mother still rings her up to unload her problems, assign tasks like paying bills, chauffeuring her around, or fixing household issues. It's been 40 years, yet the daughter remains ensnared. She's been conditioned her whole life to cater to her mother's demands. But some folks resist help. They revel in the spotlight it brings, using it to twist emotions, leveraging guilt to maintain control. Don't take the bait. Offer respect, but don't tether your happiness to theirs. The daughter, overwhelmed and bewildered, began questioning her own worth. She turned to her husband asking, "Am I the root of all our problems?" Her mental health suffered, clouding her judgment. The adversary thrives on leveraging guilt and shame to obliterate self-esteem, to make you believe you're at fault. Reject those falsehoods. You're absolutely fine just as you are. You're a reflection of the divine. You're a work of art, strong, complete, stunning, gifted, one of a kind. One day, this young woman overheard our conversation about not letting others dictate our lives, about not being responsible for everyone's happiness, about setting boundaries to safeguard our well-being. She resolved to make a change. She expressed her love to her mother, but explained she couldn't fulfill all the expectations placed on her. She would still care for her, but she couldn't bear the same burden as before. Her mother reacted angrily, repeating hurtful words, trying to manipulate her with guilt and shame. This time, the daughter brushed it off. She had endured years of criticism, blame, and feelings of inadequacy. There comes a moment when you declare, "Enough. I'm breaking free from these chains, from these falsehoods, from this dysfunction." You're not meant to be a stepping stone for others to trample on, to control, to belittle, to make you doubt yourself. God didn't intend for you to endure toxic relationships, to be degraded, mistreated, manipulated. They might not change. They prefer having you as a pawn. The change must come from within you. You must rise above. That's why you're hearing these words today. It's a day of liberation, of overcoming, of shattering the bonds of control and manipulation. The path is open, but you must walk it. That's precisely what this young woman did. She described the weight lifting off her shoulders, the burden dissipating. She said, "I've never felt this free, this peaceful in my entire life." What's interesting is the mother is still the same. Angry, bitter, upset, blaming her daughter. But this daughter is enjoying her life. Are you trying to keep someone happy that's never going to be happy? You have this false sense of responsibility that you have to sacrifice your happiness in order to fix this other person. Take that pressure off. That's not your job. Your first priority is to take care of you. Keep yourself healthy, whole, and free. And this is especially hard when it's someone close to you, someone you love, a family member, a relative. Always be kind, but you have to be strong. If this daughter had not made a change, she would have gone another 20 years depressed, overwhelmed, guilty, feeling wrong on the inside. All because someone was putting unrealistic demands on her. And if you're going to break a controlling spirit, you're going to have to be determined. Because when you don't do what you've been doing, what they expect, they'll have a fit. Get upset. Try to shame you. Tell you all they've done for you. How could you not be there for them? Don't buy into that. You have a destiny to fulfill. God has given you an assignment. The enemy will use control, manipulation, guilt, shame, try to keep you from your purpose. It's time to break free. You have to put your foot down and say, "I love you, but I'm not going to sacrifice my happiness to try to keep you happy." That's not being selfish. That's being responsible with the gift God has given you. He didn't create you to be controlled. Yes, help others. Of course, be good to people, but don't let them control you. If they won't accept you unless you perform up to their standards, meet all their expectations. No big deal. Move on, and God will give you some real friends. That's not a friend. That's a manipulator. You don't need them for your destiny. The sooner you move forward, the better you'll be. Don't waste time trying to play up to people. Win them over. If you do good enough, they'll let you in their group. They'll approve you. No, if they don't recognize the gift that you are, you need to go somewhere else. You don't have to convince people what you have to offer. Work hard enough, hoping they'll like you. Maybe they'll show you favor. That's letting them control you. God has people. He's already lined up for you that will celebrate you, approve you, think that you are awesome. But until you get rid of the wrong people, You'll never meet the right people until you get rid of those jerks. I mean, those controllers, you will never meet the divine connections. If you're being controlled and manipulated, that's taking your valuable time and energy. You need to do like this daughter, recognize what's happening, make a change, break that controlling spirit. Don't go the next 20 years letting that take your joy, keep you from the amazing future that God has for you. This is what David had to do in the scripture. His brothers were jealous of him. They could sense the favor on his life. When he took lunch out to them when they were on the battlefield, one of his brothers belittled him, questioned his motives. What are you doing out here, David? Just trying to show off? What have you done with those few sheep you're supposed to be taking care of? They were trying to keep David in their box, make them into who they wanted him to be. Small, insignificant, ordinary. David could have tried to play up to them, thought, I have to win them over, get them to like me, do whatever they want, meet all their demands. If he would have let them control him, been worried about what they thought, will they accept me? Will I find their good grace? He would have never fulfilled his purpose. David had a boundary up. His attitude was, they don't dictate my self-worth. I don't need their approval to feel good about who I am. I'm going to run my race, focus on my goals. Whether they like me or not does not determine my destiny. He didn't come under that spirit of control and manipulation. He could have felt guilty. I'm sure thoughts were whispering, come on, David. This is your family. You should do what they ask. You need to make sure they accept you. But just because someone is kin to you doesn't mean they're connected to you. Sometimes people closest to you can't see what God put on your life. They won't accept the favor, the blessing. They'll get jealous, try to belittle you, leave you out. It's tempting to want to prove it to them who we are, spend our time and energy trying to convince them to like us. If you fall into that trap, you'll end up being controlled and manipulated by what they want. You have to do like David. Be at peace with who's not at peace with you. Be okay with who doesn't accept you. If you needed them for your destiny, they would be for you. Take the high road, be kind, but don't spend your energy trying to convince them who you are. Years ago, there was this man I knew from school, and we had the same group of friends. And anytime he had a problem, something dealing with a relationship, he would look to me to correct it. Every couple of weeks, I would get a text. It was always in an emergency. This has happened. It's not right. I'm upset. You need to figure it out. And for some reason, I took this responsibility to become his personal problem solver. I'm nice. My personality is a peacemaker. I want to keep everyone happy. So I'd drop what I was doing and go to work. I got to fix this and straighten out this and convince this person. I'd get one thing solved, and a week later, he'd call back more upset. So-and-so said this. If this happens again, I'm going to do this. I thought, oh man, this is bad. I got to get right on this. I lived on the edge, just waiting for the next text, the next crisis, get one thing worked out. But it would never be enough. It was always something he was unhappy about. When I would see his name come up on my phone, a text, a call, my heart would sink. I dreaded it. This went on for 2 years. Be aware of high-maintenance people. High-maintenance people are almost always controllers. They're always having an emergency. They blow everything out of proportion, create all this drama. If you don't have a boundary up, they'll pull you into that drama. All that is a distraction from your purpose. You're carrying all this weight and pressure trying to fix things that don't have anything to do with you, trying to appease someone that doesn't have your best interest at heart. One day I realized what I'm telling you, that was a controlling spirit. I was doing it out of guilt. I can't let him down. What will he think? He may get upset. He may not be my friend. All this pressure trying to keep him happy, and at the same time, I wasn't happy. I was sacrificing my joy, my peace, my emotional well-being to please him. I did what I'm asking you to do. The next time he called, I was respectful, but I said, I'm so sorry, but I can't help you this time. My plate is full. I have commitments. You're going to have to work this out. You would have thought I took his wife and children. He got upset, angry, told me how I wasn't a friend, and how could I let him down. The funny thing is, that didn't bother me at all. I thought I'd feel bad, wrong, be so hard. But it was just the opposite. I felt peace. I felt joy. I felt relieved. I hung up the phone, went and played with my children, laughed with Victoria, had a fun time with my family. Instead of me being unhappy, I decided to let him be unhappy. Maybe it's time for you to be happy and let that other person be unhappy. You cannot keep everyone fixed. Don't be guilted into that false sense of responsibility. I'm not saying to not help others. Be kind, be giving, but don't live under a controlling spirit. People will take as much as you allow. He tried to guilt me, shame me, not loyal, not a friend. I knew the only way to break that controlling spirit was to be strong. I quit responding to his texts. I didn't answer the phone. For me to do that was a miracle. But if I had not done it, I'd still be dealing with it. There are controlling spirits that want to keep you from your purpose, to where you waste your valuable time on things that are not a part of your destiny. Trying to keep someone happy, letting guilt and manipulation keep you where you're not supposed to be. Why don't you break free? Those things that you don't feel good about, ask yourself, why are you doing it? Is it guilt? What are they going to think? They expect me to do it. I hope to win their favor. Those are all signs of control and manipulation. Genesis chapter 12. God told Abraham to leave his father's house and go to a land that he would show him. God promised he would bless him in a great way. Abraham left. He was being obedient, but he took his nephew Lot and all of his family and his herds. God just specifically told him to leave his relatives. I can imagine Abraham thought, I can't leave Lot. He may get his feelings hurt. He may not understand. He felt responsible to keep Lot happy, take care of his family, make sure they were okay. Abraham had good intentions, but it wasn't what God called him to do. Sometimes, like Abraham, we're doing things because we're good-hearted. We want to help this relative. We need to put our dream on hold to take care of this friend. This coworker's struggling, so we sacrifice our goals to be good to someone else. But your dream has an expiration date. Your assignment isn't going to last forever. There are windows of opportunities that God presents us with. It is not selfish to run your race. You can't help everyone. You can't fix every problem. You can't keep all your family and friends happy. We should always be good to people, but you have to know your assignment so you don't get distracted, taking responsibility for something that you're not responsible for. Abraham and Lot finally reached their new land. It looked stunning, sparking excitement in their hearts. However, a dilemma loomed over them. Despite their numerous flocks and herds, the land couldn't support them both adequately. Soon, their shepherds engaged in heated arguments, breeding strife and discord. This entire debacle could have been easily averted had Abraham adhered to God's directive regarding who to part ways with. Clinging onto what God advises us to leave behind invariably leads to turmoil. At times, we cling to relationships even when we're aware of their toxicity. Despite sensing the lack of respect and feeling controlled, we naively believe we can change the other person's perspective. However, the longer we persist, the more arduous it becomes, engulfing us in frustration. Holding on to what we should let go of deprives us of divine blessings and grace. Fear of losing companionship often traps us in undesirable situations. Yet, enduring loneliness momentarily can pave the way for new, enriching friendships, ones that uplift rather than drag us down, fostering growth and blossoming. Are you hesitating to part ways with your lot, making excuses to keep them close? Perhaps your lot manifests as colleagues gossiping during lunch, tarnishing the workplace environment. Why not dine elsewhere? Surrounding yourself with negativity hinders your journey towards fulfillment. Your lot might be that friend who encourages compromise, or that neighbor who brings out your worst traits. It could even be that stagnant cousin, holding you back from progress. Surround yourself with those who uplift you, who ignite your dreams, and who uphold values. Seek out those who cherish family, who show reverence, who honor commitment. Surround yourself with visionaries, with change makers, with those who set high standards. If you linger in toxic relationships, in the company of those who drain your spirit, you'll find yourself stagnant. But there's a brighter path waiting. Let go of what holds you back. Your destiny beckons, a unique purpose only you can fulfill. Toxic ties hinder your journey. They cannot coexist with your calling. Perhaps one step away lies a transformative friendship. Release the burdensome ties and witness new opportunities, deeper connections beyond what you've envisioned. Just as Abraham and Lot parted ways when the land could no longer sustain them both, separating from negativity is essential. Abraham hesitated, but eventually Lot departed. Yet troubles followed Lot. Abraham intervened, exhausting himself in battles that could have been avoided. Like Paul declared freedom from control, may you break free from manipulation, from the weight of others' expectations. Establish boundaries, refusing to bend to unreasonable demands. Remember, allowing others to control you is your choice. Act now. Don't spend decades shackled by toxicity. Today marks a turning point. Embrace your destiny. Lead your family to new heights. Focus, liberate yourself, prepare for what lies ahead. As you do, I declare the power of control and manipulation shattered. You'll find renewed grace, courage to embrace your true self. Greater blessings await, fresh relationships, unforeseen opportunities, the realization of your destiny. Amen.